Richard Hartley stepped out of his black car into the rainy streets of New Orleans. The evening air felt wet and heavy as he fixed his expensive suit. At 45, Richard had built a huge company that made medical technology. He had more money than he could ever spend. But his wealth could not fix his biggest problem. His daughter Lily could not walk. She had been unable to move her legs for 3 years after falling from a horse. Richard had taken her to the best doctors in the world. He spent millions on new treatments. Nothing worked. Lily stayed in her wheelchair, growing sadder each day. Richard came to New Orleans for a meeting about new medical discoveries. He hoped to find something that might help Lily. Walking toward his hotel, he almost missed the skinny boy sitting on the sidewalk with a small wooden box in front of him. "Can you spare some money?" the boy asked in a clear voice. He looked about 12 years old. Richard reached into his pocket to give the boy a few dollars. He was about to walk away when the boy spoke again. "Sir, I can make your daughter walk again." Richard turned and stopped cold. The words hit him like a shock. "What did you say?" The boy's green eyes looked straight at Richard without fear. His face was dirty, but his gaze was strong. "Your daughter in the wheelchair. I can help her walk again." A strange feeling ran down Richard's back. He had not told anyone in New Orleans about Lily. "Who are you? How do you know about my daughter?" The boy said his name was Alex. "I just know things sometimes. It started after the falling stars when I was 5. He pointed to his box. Inside were not coins but odd pieces of metal that seemed to shine even though the sky was gray. "You're wasting my time," Richard said, turning to leave. "The scar on her lower back looks like a moon," Alex called after him. "And she still keeps her riding boots in her closet even though it makes her sad to see them." Richard froze. No one knew about the shape of Lily's scar except family and her doctors. "No one." He turned slowly to face the boy again. "What else do you know?" "I know you've spent $14 million on treatments that didn't work," Alex said quietly. "I know her accident happened 3 years ago next Tuesday. I know she liked to ride a brown horse named Penny." Richard felt his heart beating faster. The boy could be a scammer who had researched his family. But some details like the shape of Lily's scar were not public knowledge. "How can you help her?" Richard asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Alex held up one of the metal pieces from his box. "These can fix broken connections in the body. I can show you, but not here." Richard should have walked away. Any reasonable person would have. Instead, he called Frank, his head of security. "I need a background check on someone," he said into his phone. "And I need a secure room at the hotel." 3 hours later, Richard sat across from Alex in his hotel suite. The boy had been given clean clothes and food. He ate like someone who hadn't had a proper meal in days. Frank handed Richard a folder. "Not much to find, sir. Alex Winters, age 12. Parents died in a car crash when he was 6. Been in foster care since then, but ran away 8 months ago. No criminal record, but the police have picked him up for sleeping in parks a few times." "What about the metal?" Richard asked. Frank shook his head. "Lab says it's like nothing they've seen before. Not radioactive, but it interfered with their equipment somehow." Richard turned to Alex. "Let's say I believe you know things about my daughter. That doesn't mean you can help her." Alex finished his sandwich before answering. "The doctors say her spine is damaged, right? The signals can't get from her brain to her legs. These metal pieces can bridge that gap. I've helped people before, but never someone with an injury as bad as your daughter's." "You've helped other people?" "Who?" Richard demanded. "A man who couldn't move his arm after a stroke. A girl who had seizures. I don't know their names. They were just people I met. And why help Lily? What do you want from me?" Alex looked straight at Richard. "A chance to do something good, and maybe a place to stay for a while. Winter's coming and I don't want to sleep outside when it snows." Richard had built his company by making smart choices, by never taking risks without research. His friends called him the calculator because he always ran the numbers before making a decision. But when it came to Lily, the numbers didn't matter. He had already tried everything science had to offer. His daughter was still in a wheelchair. If this is some kind of trick, Richard said slowly. You will regret it for the rest of your life. Alex nodded. I understand. If you're telling the truth, I'll give you whatever you want. Money, a home, college. The boy shrugged. I just want to help. The metal pieces chose me to find people who need them. Richard made his decision. We leave for Vermont in the morning. My plane will take us to my home. Lily is there for spring break. You have your own plane? Alex asked, his eyes wide. For the first time, he looked like a normal 12-year-old boy. I have 3, Richard said. And if you can do what you claim, I'll buy you one of your own when you're old enough to fly it. That night, Richard lay awake thinking about his choice. Was he a fool for believing this street kid? Probably. But he had seen the metal pieces move slightly in their box when no one was touching them. He had watched them glow faintly in the dark. And most importantly, he had looked into Alex's eyes and seen something old and wise behind their green color. Richard had built his fortune on seeing potential where others saw nothing. And something told him that this dirty, skinny boy might hold the key to his daughter's future. In the morning, they boarded Richard's private jet. Alex pressed his face against the window as they took off, watching New Orleans shrink below them. Have you ever flown before? Richard asked. Only in my dreams, Alex replied. Then he turned from the window. Your daughter is afraid you'll be disappointed if this doesn't work. How could you possibly know that? The same way I know about her scar and her horse, Alex said. The same way I'll know how to fix what's broken inside her. Richard looked at this strange boy who spoke like someone much older. For the first time in 3 years, he felt something he had almost forgotten. Hope. The private plane landed at a small airport in Vermont. A black car was waiting for them. Alex looked out the window as they drove through green hills and forests. After an hour, they reached tall metal gates that opened when the car approached. This is your house? Alex asked, his eyes wide with wonder. Richard nodded. One of them. The house was huge, with white columns and large windows. It looked like a building from a history book. 5 people stood on the front steps, waiting for them. The woman in the blue coat is Dr. Susan Carter, Lily's main doctor, Richard explained. The others are part of my staff and security team. Frank, the head of security, still did not trust Alex. Sir, we should test these metal pieces before letting them near Lily. We will, Richard said. But first, I need to talk to my daughter. Lily's room was on the first floor so she could move around easily in her wheelchair. It was a large space with windows looking out at the gardens. Lily sat by the window, a book in her lap. She was 17, with long brown hair and blue eyes like her mother's. When she saw her father, she smiled, but her eyes were cautious. Dad, you're back early. Then she noticed Alex standing behind Richard. Who's this? Richard sat down across from his daughter. Lily, this is Alex. I met him in New Orleans. He says he might be able to help you. Lily's smile disappeared. Her hands gripped the arms of her wheelchair tightly. Another doctor? Another treatment? I'm not a doctor, Alex said. And I'm sorry about Penny. Lily looked confused. What? Your horse. The one you fell from. You miss her. Lily stared at Alex, then at her father. How does he know about Penny? Richard took his daughter's hand. I don't know. He knows things he shouldn't be able to know. About your scar. About the accident. Is this a joke? Lily asked, her voice shaking. Alex stepped forward and opened his wooden box. Inside, the metal pieces moved slightly as if they were alive. It's not a joke. I found these during a meteor shower when I was 5. They help me know things about people who are hurt. Sometimes they can fix what's broken. Dr. Carter, who had been standing in the doorway, came into the room. Mr. Hartley, I must protest. We have no idea what these objects are. They could be dangerous. Test them, Richard said. Run whatever tests you need, but do it quickly. For the next 2 days, Richard's scientists tested the metal pieces. They found that the metal was unlike anything on Earth. It did not match any known element. It seemed to generate its own energy and could influence electrical fields around. Alex stayed in a guest room near Lily's. The two talked often. At first, Lily was angry and did not believe Alex could help her. But as he told her things about her life that he could not possibly know, she began to wonder. Why me? She asked him on the second night. Why do you want to help me? Alex looked at his hands. The metal pieces show me people who need help. I saw you in my dreams for weeks before I met your father. I think what happened to you wasn't supposed to happen. What do you mean? Some people are important. They're going to do things that change everything. I think you're one of those people. Lily laughed, but it was a sad sound. I can't even walk. How can I change anything? The metal knows, Alex said simply. On the third day, Dr. Carter came to Richard's office with her test results. Whatever. These metal fragments they don't seem harmful. They emit a low-level energy field we can't identify, but it's not radiation as we understand it. So they're safe? Richard asked. I can't say that with certainty, Dr. Carter replied. But they haven't shown any negative effects in our tests. Richard made his decision. Let's proceed. They set up equipment in Lily's room to monitor her condition. 5 doctors and scientists were present, along with Richard. Lily sat in her wheelchair, looking nervous but determined. What do I need to do? She asked Alex. Just stay still, he said. He placed 2 metal pieces on either side of her lower back where her spine was damaged. Then he put his hands over them and closed his eyes. At first, nothing happened. Then the machines in the room began to act strangely. The lights flickered. Everyone felt their hair stand on end, as if from static electricity. Lily gasped. I feel something like warm water running down my legs. The metal pieces began to glow with a blue light. Alex's face grew pale and sweat appeared on his forehead. He seemed to be in pain. Should we stop? Richard asked, worried. No, Alex whispered. It's working. The blue light grew brighter. The machines in the room shut down completely. For 10 seconds there was no sound except for Alex's heavy breathing. Then the light faded. The metal pieces looked dull like ordinary metal. Alex fell back, exhausted. Frank caught him before he hit the floor. Did it work? Richard asked, looking between Alex and his daughter. Lily sat very still. Her face showed surprise and fear, and hope all at once. Slowly, very slowly, she looked down at her feet, and her right foot moved. It was a small movement, just her toes curling up and then straightening again. But it was a movement she had not been able to make for 3 years. Dad, she whispered. Dad, look. Everyone in the room watched as Lily lifted her right foot an inch off the footrest of her wheelchair. Then her left foot twitched as well. Dr. Carter rushed forward, checking Lily's vital signs. This is impossible, she said. The damage to her spine was permanent. Richard fell to his knees beside his daughter's wheelchair, tears streaming down his face. Can you feel your legs? Yes, Lily said, her voice filled with wonder. They feel heavy and strange, but I can feel them. She looked at Alex, who was sitting on the floor leaning against Frank's leg. How did you do this? Alex smiled weakly. I didn't. The metal did. It rebuilt the connections in your spine. He closed his eyes. I'm really tired now. Richard helped Alex to a nearby couch. The boy looked smaller and younger than before, drained by whatever he had done. Will she be able to walk right away? Richard asked. Alex shook his head. No, the connections are fixed, but her muscles are weak. She needs to learn how to use them again. He looked at Lily. But you will walk. Soon. Dr. Carter was still examining. Lily, her face showing disbelief. The nerve responses are active. This shouldn't be possible with current medical technology. It's not your technology, Alex said quietly. It's from somewhere else. What do you mean, somewhere else? Frank asked, his hand moving toward his gun. Alex looked up at the ceiling as if he could see through it to the sky beyond. From up there, from another world. Richard looked at the metal pieces, now dull and lifeless in their box. Are you saying these are alien? I don't know what they are, Alex admitted. I just know they fell from the sky and they chose me to carry them. He yawned. Can I sleep now? Using them makes me very tired. As Alex drifted off to sleep, Richard watched his daughter move her toes again and again, her face bright with joy. Whatever these metal pieces were, wherever they came from, they had done what all his money and power could not. They had given his daughter a second chance. 1 week passed after the first treatment. Lily's progress shocked everyone. She could now move both legs freely while sitting. Her doctors had expected months of slow improvement, but her body seemed eager to remember how to work again. Richard converted one of the large rooms in the house into a physical therapy space. It had parallel bars, exercise equipment, and soft mats on the floor. Lily spent hours there each day, working with her therapists. Alex visited her during these sessions. Though he was still weak from using the metal fragments, he was getting stronger. The fragments remained dull and lifeless in their box. When will they work again? Richard asked as he and Alex watched Lily practice moving her legs while sitting on a therapy table. They need to recharge, Alex explained. They use energy when they heal someone. It takes time for them to get that energy back. Where does the energy come from? Alex looked up at the sky outside the window. From up there. From the stars. Richard had many scientists studying the metal fragments. They found that the pieces gave off small bursts of energy during the night, strongest when the sky was clear. It was as if they were receiving signals from space. On the 10th day after the first treatment, Lily attempted to stand. 2 therapists helped her up, supporting her weight. Her legs shook but held her. She stayed standing for nearly a minute before needing to sit down. That was amazing, one therapist said. Your muscle tone is returning much faster than expected. Lily grinned at Alex, who was watching from a chair. You said I would walk. I'm going to hold you to that promise. You will, Alex said. Sooner than anyone thinks. That night, Richard found Alex standing outside on the lawn, looking up at the stars. The metal box was open in his hands. The fragments inside were glowing faintly blue like they had during Lily's treatment. They're talking to each other, Alex said without turning around. The pieces here and the others up there. Others? There are more of these metal pieces? Alex nodded. Many more. All over the universe. They're like parts of one big thing that was broken apart long ago. Richard stood beside the boy, looking up at the night sky. Who made them? What are they for? I don't know everything, Alex admitted. But I think they were made to help, to fix things that are broken. Not just people, but maybe whole worlds. The idea was too big for Richard to understand fully. He had built his company by thinking practically, by solving problems he could see and touch. The idea of objects from space with mysterious powers was something from science fiction, not real life. Yet he had seen his daughter move her legs again. That was real. The fragments are almost recharged, Alex said. We can do the second treatment tomorrow. The next day they gathered in Lily's room again. Dr. Carter brought more monitoring equipment this time, hoping to record what happened during the treatment. Remember, stay still, Alex told Lily. She sat on her bed, legs stretched out in front of her. This time Alex placed the fragments directly on Lily's legs, one on each thigh. Then he put his hands over them and closed his eyes. The blue light appeared faster this time, bright and pulsing. The equipment in the room went crazy, then shut down completely. Richard felt a strange pressure in his ears, like when an airplane changes altitude quickly. Lily gasped, but not in pain. I can feel them. They're hot, but it doesn't hurt. It feels like my legs are waking up fully. The light lasted longer this time, nearly a minute. When it finally faded, Alex didn't collapse, but he looked tired. The fragments were dull again. Stand up, he told Lily. Are you sure? She asked. Yes, you can do it. Slowly, Lily moved to the edge of the bed. She put her feet on the floor and pushed herself up, and she stood, alone, without help. Her legs shook a little, but they held her weight. She took one small step forward, then another. "Oh my God," Dr. Carter whispered. "This defies all medical understanding." Richard couldn't speak. He watched as his daughter walked across the room slowly but steadily. 5 steps, then 10. She reached the wall and turned around, tears streaming down her face. "Dad," she said. "Dad, I'm walking." Richard ran to her and hugged her tightly. For the first time in 3 years, they stood together, neither one supporting the other. Alex sat on Lily's bed, watching them with a small smile. "The fragments did good work," he said quietly. Later that day, Richard found Alex in the kitchen eating a sandwich. For once, the boy looked like a normal 12-year-old, swinging his legs under the table, crumbs on his shirt. "I want to talk to you about your future," Richard said, sitting across from him. Alex looked up. "My future?" "Yes. You've given my daughter her life back. I owe you more than I can ever repay. I want to adopt you." Alex stopped eating. "Adopt me?" "Yes. Give you a home here. Send you to school. Give you opportunities." "Why?" Richard was surprised by the question. "Because you deserve it. Because you have an amazing gift. And because you have nowhere else to go." Alex considered this. "What about the fragments? The metal pieces? We can study them. Understand how they work. Think of how many people we could help." For the first time, Alex looked uncomfortable. "They're not meant to be studied. They're meant to be used to help people. And we will help people," Richard assured him. "My company makes medical devices. We could use what we learn to help millions of people." Would everyone be able to get this help? Or just rich people? The question caught Richard off guard. His company made expensive equipment that only the best hospitals could afford. Most of his customers were wealthy people or their insurance companies. "Well, at first the treatments might be expensive," he admitted. "New technology always is. But over time, that's not how the fragments work," Alex interrupted. "They don't care if someone is rich or poor. They only care if they need help." Richard felt a flash of annoyance. "You're 12 years old. You don't understand how business works." "You're right," Alex said. "But I understand how the fragments work better than you do." He closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them again. "They're showing me more people who need help. People who can't pay you." Before Richard could respond, Lily walked into the kitchen. Her steps were slow but steady. She had changed into jeans for the first time in years. "Alex is right, Dad," she said. "This isn't something we should sell, it's something we should share." Richard looked between his daughter and the strange boy who had changed their lives. He had built his wealth by controlling access to medical technology, by patents and exclusive deals. But looking at Lily standing on her own 2 feet, he knew some things were more important than money. "Okay," he said finally. "We'll find a way to help everyone, not just those who can pay. But I still want you to be part of our family, Alex. What do you say?" Alex smiled, looking truly happy for the first time since Richard had met him. "I say yes. And I think the fragments say yes too." 3 months passed. Spring turned to summer. The world outside the Hartley estate continued as normal, but inside everything had changed. Lily could now walk without help. She could even run short distances. Her doctors called it a miracle. They wrote papers about her recovery, careful not to mention the strange metal fragments. Richard made them sign papers promising to keep that part secret, at least for now. Alex became part of the Hartley family in all but name. The adoption process had started, but it would take time. He had his own room next to Lily's and attended online school to catch up on the education he had missed. Richard kept his promise. He started a new part of his company called the Healing Foundation. Its goal was to use the fragments to help people who could not afford treatment. But there was a problem. The fragments only worked when Alex used them. "We need to understand how they connect with you," Richard told Alex one morning, as they ate breakfast. "Otherwise, we can only help a few people at a time." "The fragments chose me," Alex said, eating his cereal. I don't control them. They control me in a way. But there must be a reason they chose you. Something in your brain or your DNA that's different. Alex shrugged. Maybe. Or maybe I was just in the right place at the right time when they fell from the sky. Richard's scientists had run many tests on Alex. They found nothing unusual about him except for strange brainwave patterns when he was near the fragments. It was as if his brain and the metal were speaking a language only they understood. That afternoon, Lily took Alex riding. She had started riding horses again, something she thought she would never do after her accident. They rode slowly around the large field behind the house. Are you happy here? Lily asked as they stopped to let the horses rest. Alex patted his horse's neck. Yes. Your father has been kind to me, and I like having a real bed and food whenever I want it. Lily laughed. That's a pretty low bar for happiness. When you've been homeless, it's not low at all. They rode in silence for a while. Then Alex spoke again. But sometimes I miss being free, going wherever I wanted, following where the fragments led me. Do they still talk to you? Lily asked. She knew Alex could sense things from the metal pieces that no one else could. All the time. Especially at night. They show me people who need help. Places I should go. He looked at the blue summer sky. And lately, they've been showing me something else, something coming. Coming, what do you mean? Before Alex could answer, they heard a shout from the house. Frank was running toward them, waving his arms. Miss Hartley, Alex, you need to come back now. They rode quickly back to the house. Richard met them at the door, his face pale. What's wrong, Dad? Lily asked as she slid off her horse. Look at the news, he said, leading them inside. The TV in the living room was on. It showed a news reporter standing in a field. Behind her, soldiers and scientists moved around what looked like a large rock half buried in the ground. The object fell to Earth approximately 2 hours ago, the reporter was saying. NASA confirms it is not a normal meteorite. Its path changed before impact, suggesting it was being controlled. The camera zoomed in on the object. It was black and shiny, like the fragments but much larger, about the size of a car. The military has secured the area. No radiation has been detected, but as a precaution, nearby homes have been evacuated. Richard muted the TV and turned to Alex. Did you know about this? Alex stared at the screen, his face showing no surprise. Yes. The fragments have been telling me something was coming. Something looking for them. Looking for them? What do you mean? Richard asked. The fragments are not just random pieces. They're like scouts, sent to find worlds with life, to find people who can use them properly. Alex pointed at the object on the TV. That's their way of checking on them, of seeing if they've found what they were looking for. Frank, who had followed them inside, reached for his gun. Are you saying it's some kind of alien probe? I don't know what you'd call it, Alex said calmly. But yes, it came from the same place as the fragments. Richard sat down heavily on the couch. This changes everything. If that thing is connected to the fragments, and the government has it, they'll want the fragments too, Lily finished. And they'll want Alex. As if on cue, Richard's phone rang. He answered it, listened for a moment, then hung up. That was my contact at the Pentagon, he said grimly. They're sending people here. Now. Why? Lily asked. Because 3 months ago, we filed those medical papers about your recovery. Someone put it together with this landing and flagged it. Richard ran his hands through his hair. We have maybe an hour before they arrive. Alex walked to the window and looked out at the sunny day. We should give them what they want. What? Richard and Lily said together. The fragments want to be found. That's why they crashed here. That's why they chose me to carry them. Alex turned to face them. But we need to make sure they're used the right way. To help people, not to make weapons or to control others. Richard nodded slowly. You're right. But how do we do that? I think, Alex said, We need to talk to whoever sent them. Frank laughed nervously. You want to talk to aliens? How exactly do we do that? Through the fragments, Alex said simply. He walked to his room and returned with the wooden box. Opening it, he showed them the metal pieces inside. They were glowing brightly now, pulsing with blue light. They're more active than I've ever seen them, Lily said, staring at the fragments. Because they're excited, Alex explained. They've been waiting a long time for this moment. Richard looked out the window. In the distance, he could see dust on the road leading to their house. Cars were coming. Whatever you're going to do, he told Alex, do it quickly. Alex nodded. He took the fragments from the box and placed them on the coffee table. They began to move on their own, arranging themselves in a circle. They need more power, Alex said. All the electrical things in the house, turn them on. Lights, TVs, computers, everything. As Richard, Lily, and Frank rushed to follow his instructions, Alex sat cross-legged on the floor in front of the fragments. His eyes were closed, his hands hovering over the glowing metal. What exactly are you trying to do? Richard asked when he returned. Make contact, Alex said without opening his eyes. Let them know we're ready. The fragments were spinning now, faster and faster, their blue light filling the room. Outside, the approaching cars were getting closer. Alex opened his eyes. They glowed with the same blue light as the fragments. They're here, he said, but his voice sounded different. Deeper, older, and then the room filled with light. The blue light filled the room completely. Richard, Lily, and Frank covered their eyes. When they could see again, the fragments were floating in the air, spinning in a perfect circle. In the center of the circle was what looked like a window, but instead of showing the other side of the room, it showed stars and space. Alex? Lily called, her voice shaking. Alex still sat on the floor, but his body seemed frozen. His eyes were open and glowing blue. When he spoke, his voice was not his own. The boy is safe, said the strange voice coming from Alex's mouth. He is helping us talk to you. Frank pulled his gun, but Richard pushed it down. Who are you? Richard asked. We are the Watchers, the voice said. We sent the fragments to your world many years ago. They were meant to find those who would use them wisely. Lily moved closer to Alex. What do you want from us? Nothing you are not willing to give. We watch many worlds, many kinds of life. We help those who are ready. Richard glanced out the window. The cars were getting closer. He could see they were black government vehicles. The people coming here, he said. They'll want to take the fragments, to study them, maybe to make weapons. The voice from Alex seemed to sigh. This happens on many worlds. The gifts we send are often used poorly at first. But not always? Lily asked. No. Sometimes they are used as they were meant to be. To heal. To help. Through the window of stars, something moved closer. It looked like a ship, but it changed, shape as it moved. You have done well, using our gifts to heal instead of harm. Outside, the cars were stopping in front of the house. Men in suits and uniforms were getting out. What happens now? Richard asked. Will you take the fragments back? That depends on you, the voice said. We offer 3 choices. Alex's hand pointed to the window of stars, and 3 images appeared. First, we can remove all trace of our presence. Take the fragments, erase memories, leave your world as it was. The first image showed the Earth unchanged. Second, we can leave the fragments with your governments. Let them decide how to use them. The second image showed laboratories, soldiers, weapons. Third, we can connect your world to ours. Share knowledge. But slowly, only as you show you are ready. The third image showed people of all kinds using technology like the fragments to help others. The doorbell rang. Then came loud knocking. We don't have much time, Richard said. What should we choose? The choice must be made by the one who found the fragments, the voice said. The boy you call Alex. The blue glow faded from Alex's eyes. He blinked, looking normal again, but tired. Alex? Lily said. Did you hear? I heard, Alex said, his voice his own again. I've been listening the whole time. Frank looked out the window. Whatever you're going to decide, decide fast. There are at least 20 agents out there. Alex looked at Richard and Lily. You took me in, gave me a home, treated me like family. Then he looked at the spinning fragments in the window to the stars. But this is bigger than just us. The knocking at the door grew louder. Someone shouted, "Mr. Hartley, this is the United States government, open the door." What are you going to choose? Richard asked Alex. Alex stood up. Though he was still just a 12-year-old boy, something about him seemed older, wiser. The third choice, connection, but with conditions. He turned to the window of stars. We accept your offer of connection. But the knowledge must be shared with everyone, not just the rich or powerful. And it must be used to help, not hurt. Through the floating window came a sound like distant music. You speak wisdom beyond your years, young one. We accept your conditions. The front door burst open. Men with guns rushed in, followed by people in suits. They stopped, frozen in shock at the sight of the floating metal and the window to the stars. A woman in a black suit stepped forward. Mr. Hartley, we need you to... She stopped as the fragments suddenly flew together, forming a perfect sphere. The sphere expanded, changing color from blue to white. The window to the stars closed. What's happening? The woman demanded. A new beginning, Alex said simply. The sphere grew until it touched the ceiling, then burst into thousands of tiny lights that flew through the walls of the house, spreading in all directions. What did you do? One of the agents shouted, pointing his gun at Alex. Richard stepped in front of the boy. He just helped save the world. The woman in the black suit looked at the now empty space where the sphere had been. Saved it from what? From people who would use power selfishly, Lily said. From people who think only some lives are worth saving. Over the next few days, strange reports came from all over the world. People with injuries and illnesses suddenly recovering. Metal objects flying through the air. Windows opening to show stars and distant worlds. The government questioned Richard, Lily, and Alex for many hours. They wanted to know everything about the fragments and the watchers, but there was little they could do. The fragments were gone, spread throughout the world. 1 month later, Richard stood on the porch of his house, watching Alex and Lily play with a glowing blue ball that floated without being touched. Do you regret it? Richard asked. Sharing the fragments with the world instead of keeping them for ourselves? Alex caught the floating ball and looked up at the sky. No. That's what they were meant for, to help everyone. But we could have been the only ones with that power. We could have changed the world our way. Alex smiled. We did change the world, just not by controlling it. Inside the house, the TV was on. A news reporter was talking about a girl in Africa who had been blind since birth. Now she could see after touching a small piece of strange metal found in her village. The watchers are still watching, Alex said. They're waiting to see what we do with their gift. And what will we do? Richard asked. Lily joined them on the porch. She could now run and jump as if she had never been injured. We'll do what humans always do when given something new, she said. Some will use it badly, but most will use it to make things better. Alex nodded. That's why the fragments chose me that day in New Orleans. Not because I was special, but because I was willing to share. Richard thought back to that rainy evening when a dirty boy on the street had stopped him with impossible words. Sir, I can make your daughter walk again. The beggar boy had done far more than that. He had made humanity take its first steps toward the stars. As evening fell, tiny lights began to appear in the sky, too early to be stars. Richard knew they were fragments connecting with their makers, sharing the story of the people they had found. Do you think they'll stay? Richard asked. The Watchers? As long as we show them we're worth watching, Alex said. As long as we help each other. Lily put her arm around the boy who had changed their lives. You know, when you first told Dad you could make me walk again, I bet he never thought it would lead to all this. Richard laughed. When a beggar boy stops you on the street and knows things he shouldn't know, you should probably pay attention. That's the lesson, isn't it? Alex said, his eyes reflecting the lights in the sky. Sometimes the most important voices are the ones we almost ignore. As night fell completely, the three of them stayed on the porch, watching the lights spread across the sky. A bridge between worlds that began with a simple act of belief.